Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's July, the 1st of July, 2026. And these are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, with the facts. And if those facts make you exclaim, what the... Anyway... You won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome to the Wednesday Hump Day. Don't you dare be a chump and crump day version of the WTF reports. Again, I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. And, just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. We are living in an absolute clown world. Everything's crazy. And it was funny because Eric Moutsas, he's a regular poster on social media. He took a clip that I've played many, many times before. And maybe I'll pull it up here and play it at some point. But the clip was from the movie Network. And that came out 50 years ago. And if you haven't seen Network, you really go out of your way. You got to see that film. It is absolutely amazing. The dialogue in that applies more today than it did when they made that film 50 years ago. Anyway, right off the bat, let's see, where are my notes? Oh, I left them in the other room. No biggie. I don't know if you've heard, but there is a film that was released over the weekend, or about 5 or 6 days ago, and Elon Musk put it out for free all over X, or formerly Twitter. It's called Citizen Vigilante. And if you haven't seen it, it's a real interesting film. Yeah. It basically, there's a lot of people out there fist pumping because basically the story revolves around a real estate developer who happens to have a lot of money, and he is absolutely disgusted with the fact that immigrants have been led into their country, into his country, and this is in Germany. Oh, and by the way, Germany has banned this film; they won't let anybody see it. And but anyway. This guy is really PO'd because apparently there is a 14-year-old girl who is graped by a group of immigrants, Muslim immigrants. And so he goes on a campaign to locate these immigrants because what happened is that they went to trial and the judge let them off because they hadn't really been able to understand that their activities weren't acceptable in that society. So he let them off. So the 7 young boys, or young men, whatever, who participated in the graping of this 14-year-old girl get off scot-free. And, of course, all the people are really PO'd about it. So anyway, he takes it upon himself to locate these guys and execute justice. And I use those words specifically. He also goes after the judge who let them off. Now, this has really made a lot of people very, very upset. And some people are saying, hey, you know, anybody who engages in that type of violation of a young girl deserves a wood chipper. Okay, I think that there's a lot of people who would agree with that. And for that reason, that's why a lot of people are fist pumping when they see this film. They say, yeah, they got what they had coming. So, and so did the judge. And so the point is that their seeds are being planted in the minds of those who watch this film, and I think that this is one of the reasons why they've banned it in Germany. So they don't want the citizens rising up against the established powers that are basically creating these problems by, letting all these immigrants in. And now there's a real push for re-immigration. In other words, get them out of our countries. This is going across all of the EU right now. So, but anyway, I digress. What's interesting, and it's something that we've talked about on this broadcast more than once, is that there are 3 major religions on this planet. There's Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Okay? And this particular film is ginning up the hostilities between Christians and Islam. Okay? And I think that benefits a third party. And it just so happens that the producers of the film, including the main actor, are members of that third party. So is a holy war being ginned up here? I have to ask that question. So, and there's more and more people that are starting to recognize this. As a matter of fact, somebody made an AI mock-up of the really gruesome scene in there, and it's featuring Mel Gibson. Anyway, if you haven't seen the Citizen Vigilante film, you may want to watch it. There are some very, very difficult scenes in there. But and then stop and think about who's behind the creation of the film, who benefits from the emotions that are generated by the film, and you start to think maybe a little bit outside the cage. So that was the first thing I wanted to get to. The other thing I wanted to get to is the idea, or the revelation, I should say, that the October 7th attack into Israel was indeed an inside job. Yes, it was indeed the Hannibal Directive. As a matter of fact, Piers Morgan was interviewing Candace Owens, and she basically put it out there. I'm going to let you listen to what Candace Owens had to contribute to this particular issue. So here she is talking about the October 7th attack.
Do you think he's a war criminal?
Yes. I believe he's a war criminal, and I think that the issue is how much power he has, particularly in America, and I want to make sure that I'm just crossing, or I guess making that clear to people across the pond. You know, in America, we have lobbying. You guys don't have lobbying here. And so this is why it might seem...
We do, but not to the same degree.
Yes, like AIPAC spent $100 million in our elections. And what that means is that they're able to write fellowships, they're able to pay journalists, they're able to pay people to attack and take down people who speak against their initiatives. And they are, AIPAC, I would say, is very much pro-Likud party, pro-Bibi Netanyahu. And this is why you have seen people like me being attacked in the way that they have been attacked for what I believe is just a human stance on what's happening to the Palestinians. I don't care if you had flipped it, if it had not been Israelis, if it had been, you know, if it had been Christians doing this to Muslims, I would say the exact same thing based on the images that I've seen. But there is a ton of evidence that Bibi Netanyahu allowed October 7th to take place, including the things that we found out, because I now read Haaretz daily to
You don't actually think he knew it was going to happen?
Well, let's just talk about the facts. We don't have to speculate on that. What we do know is that they did intercept the hostage plan before it took place, right? The 250 hostages that came out in Haaretz media. We also know that Egypt gave them prior a warning that the attacks were going to take place. Egypt said that they were being ignored. That was a fact. I've been to Israel. Have you been to Israel? We know it's the size of New Jersey. We know that it takes 15 minutes to get from one end to the other. And we know that every 5 feet, there's a person in your face holding a gun. That attack went on for 2 hours without interruption. I find that hard to believe. And this gets to the, I guess you could say, the nucleus of the corruption trial against him, when now he's even arguing with the IDF minister who he fired, Yoav Gallant, am I saying his last name correctly, where they're saying that some funny stuff happened on October 7th, and they are explicitly accusing him of feeding lies to the Western media. This is crucial. You know, and this could be the undoing of everything. If we find out that he had prior knowledge, and we do know for a fact that he said that he intentionally wanted to take over Palestinian territory, you should find that clip and play it on the show, because it's very significant when he asked the reporter to turn off the camera, and then he starts speaking about his plans for the Palestinians. This was years ago. I think Bibi Netanyahu is a monster, and I think the people that are still standing by him and supporting him, you know, I wouldn't want to have that on my conscience. I
wouldn't have it on mine either. And there's a good reason why people are questioning the October 7th narrative. There was, like I said many times before, John Hankey produced a documentary film entitled October 7th Was 100% an Inside Job. You can watch it on Rumble. And it includes interviews with IDF soldiers, security personnel, who basically are testifying that, yeah, we were told to stand down. Yeah, we didn't have any input whatsoever. Yeah, that's what happened. So, again, was the Hannibal Directive implemented on October 7th? Well, Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks shared a video that was taken in the military meeting there, and they didn't want this to get out there, but they basically came out and said the same thing. Here's Anna Kasparian.
Congress have been hounded about this. And look, at the end of the day, if this amendment doesn't make it to a full House vote, then it's really hard to hold each individual member of Congress accountable.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a second, because she prefaces this discussion about the October 7th attack with what's going on in Congress right now in regard to Section 224 of the NDAA and also Section 219 of the NDAA. And by the way, they keep switching these things around so you don't really know what's going on. This is absolute treason, folks. It really is. Anyway, I'm going to let her continue.
Now, who's holding back the ability for a full House vote? As I mentioned earlier, it's the House Rules Committee, right? So maybe we just need to apply additional pressure, more pressure, extreme pressure on the members of the House Rules Committee. Okay,
I'm sorry, I've got these issues in the wrong order here, but she again is talking about these the NDAA, and as a matter of fact, I'll go with that for a minute here because there are several different things that need to be discussed about that, and I'll get back to the October 7th issue in just a moment. But let's see, Ron Paul. Let me see if I have that clip here queued up. Where is that? That should be right here. Okay, Ron Paul was discussing with his partner there. I can't remember the partner's name, but on the Ron Paul review, here's what they had to say about the NDAA and the fact that Congress is blocking Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna's effort to stop the U.S. military integration. And this, as far as I'm concerned, and any red-blooded American with functioning gray matter knows doggone well that this is absolute treason. So anyway, here's the comment here from the Ron Paul Institute.
The last thing we want to do today is a little bit of an update on something we've been following, and that's the section previously known Section 224 of the National Defense Authorization Act. If you go to that next clip. Now, that is the section of the NDAA that essentially integrates U.S. military with the Israeli military. The weirdest thing that we've ever heard, but probably a function of, as we mentioned the first time, Dr. Paul, a declining and evaporating U.S. support for Israel, particularly after the slaughter in Gaza and now in Lebanon. So here's what happened yesterday. Congress blocks the Massie-Khanna effort to kill U.S.-Israel integration. Congress has refused to even allow a full House vote on a provision that would pave the way for an unprecedented integration of the U.S. and Israeli military-industrial complexes. They refused to even allow the vote. The move came, if you go to the next one, through the House rules process for the NDAA. Unfortunately, after no debate on Monday, the Rules Committee chose to reject a bipartisan amendment to that would have stripped United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. Go to the next one. The provision they wanted to squelch, previously known as Section 224, creates an executive agent within the Department of Defense whose sole responsibility is furthering U.S. and Israeli military tech integration across nearly every facet of the defense process, from co-producing weapons to data fusion.
In other words, they're going to turn everything over. They say it's sort of merging with. Come on, let's be real about it. Israel will take over our military and our intelligence because they've already taken over our Congress and the Senate. And as far as I'm concerned, the office of the presidency. They've also taken over big pharma, big tech, the media, big agri, big oil. They are controlling everything. Oh, and then there's, of course, Hollywood and TV. So if we actually think that they're just going to cooperate and work with our guys in the military, no, they're going to basically take over. We'll continue.
That sounds terrible, and most people say it sounds terrible, whether it was Israel, New Zealand, Guatemala, or Marshall Islands.
Yeah, the whole thing is just crazy.
Yeah.
You know that they would mesh them together.
Well, I think Joe Kent got it right. He said the dangers of allowing any other nation to access our sensitive military technologies are obvious, including the fact that backdoors and spyware can be installed that will most certainly be used by the Israelis to influence U.S. policy. We already know that they do that all the time. In fact, the DIA, we talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago, issued a warning that they are ramping up their spying, putting it on steroids. So we know that's what they do. Why would you open the door right at the time where they're ramping up, trying to break down the door. It's very concerning. Now, if you go to that next clip, by rejecting the Khanna and Massie amendment, the Rules Committee on Monday ensured, this is important, and I highlighted, ensured the American public would not even get to see how their representatives would vote on this pivotal issue. This is despite unprecedented levels of public distrust in the Israeli government and widespread public outrage directed at these proposals. I wouldn't say despite the unprecedented distrust. I would say it's because of the unprecedented levels of distrust that they don't want you to see. And you remember this very well, Dr. Paul. There were a lot of votes that they did not want to hold a recorded vote on.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole thing with Section 224, or now 219, I think, this is just rolling right on through, and Congress does not want to have a recorded vote. No, they don't want to have, they don't want to even vote for it. Anyway, Anna Kasparian was getting into this whole thing with the Hannibal Directive. I'll get back to that in just a moment, because there were several other things having to do with Section 224 that I wanted to get off of the off the plate here. Let's see. Here's the Ron Paul thing. Let me see. There was Ro Khanna. Where is he here? Okay, here it is. Ro Khanna making his statement about Section 224. Here it is.
Congress has blocked Thomas Massie and my amendment to prevent the integration of our military with Israel. This is unconscionable. They're not even giving us a vote on the amendment. Thomas and I will continue to fight to make sure we don't compromise American sovereignty.
Okay, thank you very much. And hopefully, if everybody out there listening would call their members of Congress and the Senate and tell them what you feel about Section 224 or any other bill that is presented to them that compromises the integrity of our government and turns it over to a country, or a state, I should say, because Israel is not even a country, it's a state. And through their actions, through their deeds, they have shown everybody, the entire world, what kind of people they are. They're madmen. It's not, the entire society is sick. And I'm not afraid to say that. And it's not about Jews. No, it's not about Jews. It's about the Israeli mentality. And let me see. Here's another one. Here's another thing on Section 224. Let me see. I forget who this was. Okay, here it is.
The Congress, I think in history, there has never been a foreign legislature owned by another country as completely as the American Congress is by the Israelis. Not directly always by the Israelis. It's through their bluster and their demands that they get involved. But the American geography, if you will, is loaded with pro-Israeli organizations. I'm
going to pause it. You're listening to the voice of Dr. Michael Schor. He's a former chief of the Bin Laden issue station at the CIA on Going Underground. Anyway, I'll let him continue.
Like the Anti-Defamation League, the Southern Poverty Law Center, IPAC, and untold numbers of Jewish millionaires. They say Trump took $100 million from a Jewish woman who lives in Las Vegas.
Miriam Adelson.
It was actually $350 million, but that's okay.
Yes, I don't know if that's true or not.
The casino heiress, as it were, casino widow.
Yes, that's exactly right. But no, since 1948, we've been owned lock, stock, and barrel by the Israelis.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have. When does it stop? When does it stop? Okay, let's see. I had another thing here having to do with Section 224. Let me see. Here's this one and that one. Okay, we already heard from Anna Kasparian. Okay, I want to get back to Anna Kasparian. So anyway, before we close the door on Section 224 or Section 622 of Senate Bill 4715, again, I'm putting the plea out for all you listeners out there to call your members of Congress and let them know, exactly how you feel about this. Because this is as far as I'm concerned, yes, this is absolute treason. There's no other word for it. As a matter of fact, let me see. I want to click on something here. the people who were voting or who don't want to vote, shall we say, on this just happen to be, let's see here, we have Virginia Fox. She's a Republican from North Carolina, and she's received $322,000 from AIPAC. And then there's Michelle Fishback. She's also a Republican from Minnesota. She's received $64,000 from AIPAC. Ralph Norman, he's a real cheap date, I'll tell you. He only took $10,000 from AIPAC. Okay, he's from South Carolina. He's a Republican. Another Republican is Erin Huchin, and she's also another cheap sellout. She only got $29,000 from AIPAC, and she's from Indiana. Then there's Nick Langworthy. He's a Republican from New York. He got $101,000 from AIPAC. And then there's Austin Scott, another Republican. He's from Georgia. He got $64,000 from AIPAC. And let's see, from Georgia, Brian Jack, U.S. Representative, he got $256,000 from AIPAC, over $250,000 from AIPAC. And then there's Mary Gay Scanlon. Okay, she is a Democrat from Pennsylvania. She got $74,000 from AIPAC. Let me see. Now, there's also Democrat representative from Colorado, Joe Neguse. I guess that's how you pronounce his name. He got $399,000 from AIPAC. Chip Roy, seriously? I can't believe Chip Roy. Yep, he's a sellout too. From Louisiana, Republican, he only got $17,000 from AIPAC. Morgan Griffin, U.S. Representative from Virginia, Republican, $33,000 from AIPAC. And then there's Teresa Ledger. She's a Democrat from New Mexico, and she got $91,000, almost $92,000 from AIPAC. So, we see how... Whoa, sorry about that. That's Virginia Fox. She was being shouted down. She was one of the people that I just mentioned. So, anyway, our country's being sold out. Simple as that. Simple as that. Anyway, let's see. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. Let me throw out the phone number here. I'm still looking for somebody. I mentioned it yesterday. Is anybody experiencing fatigue like you've never experienced before? You get halfway through the day and you can't hold your eyes open. Anybody else feeling that? I'd like to know about it. Give me a call. 215-867-8255. I'm going to take a quick break and be right back. Oh, there we go. Let me hit that button the right way. Here we go.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And as always, you can get more tank by visiting our website, thewtfreports.com. Click on the sponsors page and it'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and get all the specifics and information about this fuel catalyst and why you should be using it in your vehicle. Yes, it'll make your car run more efficiently, cleaner, gives you more power, and after a couple of tanks, you'll start to see improved mileage. Yeah, anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage depending upon your make, model, year of vehicle, and, of course, your driving habits. So it doesn't make sense not to use Get More Tank. So go run screaming to your computer and go to the WTF Reports, click on the sponsors page, and Get More Tank. All right, 30 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And again, the phone number here is 215-867-8255. Now, I've got several different topics that I've been discussing, and one of which is the Hannibal Directive. And Anna Kasparian put up a video from the Young Turks. And the first part of it, she was talking about what we were just talking about, Section 224 of the NDAA. And then she got into talking about the Hannibal Directive. And that entire narrative is falling apart, folks. People are starting to realize that the October 7th attack by Hamas was, if not an inside job, it was encouraged by and allowed to happen by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and they were told to stand down. Let me see if I got this part queued up. I'm going to go back to Anna Kasparian here.
Slaughter their own people, and now we have the silver bullet to prove it. Now, we've talked about the Hannibal Directive. The Hannibal Directive is when the IDF will literally shoot and kill their own in order to prevent them from being taken as hostages. That way, the hostage takers do not have any leverage over the Israelis. And it turns out these idiots on October 7th decided to video record themselves talking about the Hannibal Directive. This was released recently by an account on X called I Really Hate You. And apparently this even aired in Israeli television back in February. Okay, so we're going to watch the video. You're going to hear Hebrew if you're our audio listener. But I'll read the quotes when we come back out of the video. Let's take a look.
עכשיו מפציץ את כל קו הרצועה עם ארטילריה, דופק להם מכה על מנת שתהיה להם בעיה. ממש להם על זה. כתבתי את זה לאבי. הם לא מעלים מזכרים, את רוצה שנראה? לא, על עזה. פרק את הכל. עם החיילים שחטפו להם.
Break it all apart along with the soldiers who got abducted. Those are the hostages. In other words, kill the hostages too. Okay, so let me read you the full context of what they said in that video. The clip, which aired in February on Israel's Channel 12, shows Israeli officials in Israel's police command center saying, right now, I would bomb the entire Gaza border with artillery, hit them with a blow so they'd have a real problem. To which another Israeli official replied, it looks like they're on it. One Israeli official asked, they're not even getting fighter helicopters in the air. You think they're on it? And another replied, no, on Gaza, break it all apart, along with the soldiers who got abducted. So they're totally okay with killing their own just to ensure that in their minds, the enemy doesn't have leverage over them. Remember how much they pretended to care so much about the hostages? But Cenk, I'm worried about a situation in which the military gets used against the American people if they don't comply with Israel's wishes. I'm worried about that.
You should be deeply worried about that.
Yeah.
So finally we get to the question that Anna's asking about. So what's going to prevent Israel from using this against us? And if you say, oh, well, Israel is too moral to do that. Well, okay, really? You're on a different planet.
They've killed Americans in the West Bank.
They've killed 10 Americans in the last 3 years and haven't even arrested anyone. And our government hasn't asked them to arrest anyone.
Exactly.
Because our government works for Israel nearly completely. And if you don't believe that, you just don't know the news. So we're telling you right here, this is a giant takeover of our military technology. So would Israel use it against us? 1,000,000,000%. They would have no qualms in using it against us. There's a quote from Benjamin Netanyahu that I alluded to yesterday, where he gives a speech about how it's Jews versus Rome, and how this time Jews are going to beat Rome. Now, this is not my language. This is his language.
Yeah, I'm going to pause that. That's what we were talking about yesterday, and I provided you with the audio clip.
Okay. And they after the speech, behind the scenes, they ask him, who's Rome? And he says, America.
Bingo. That's right. It's the Jews against Rome. Those are Bibi Netanyahu's own words. And of course, I've talked about this numerous times. We, the West, are known as Edom. That means Western Europe and North America, the United States. We, Edom, must be destroyed before the return of the Mashiach, their Messiah. So they do have motivation to destroy this country. And of course, they'll do that with a smile on their face and try to tell everybody that they are our greatest ally. But we are being destroyed from within. And if you just look around, this is no-brainer stuff, folks. Absolutely no-brainer stuff. So until people get a grip on that, I mean, they have to, somehow figure that out and understand what is going on here. As a matter of fact, there's a real hysteria going on in Israel right now because the world now has been focusing in on what's been going on to the Palestinians and the Palestinian hostages. Oh, they call them prisoners, as if they committed some sort of a crime. But the bottom line here is that they don't want any inspection whatsoever into the prison facilities in Israel. It's let me see. I'm translating here. This was translated from Spanish. There was an Israeli woman spokesperson, and let's see. Here's the audio.
יש לא רק לחץ, אלא היסטריה אמיתית בשב"ס. שאם הצלב האדום ייכנס.
Okay, I'm going to pause it here because what she's saying, of course, is in Hebrew, but the translation here is, and I quote, "There is a genuine hysteria among the prison service if the Red Cross visits Israel's prisons. If that happens, it would be a media catastrophe. Do not allow the Red Cross to enter our prisons and visit the prisoners under any circumstances." And the woman saying that is Galit Distel Atbaryan. She is obviously a Zionist politician from Netanyahu's Likud party, and she appeared terrified at the Israeli parliament to publicly plead that they not let the Red Cross into the Zionist prisons in a clear call to hide the crimes they are perpetrating against the Palestinians. We don't even know 10% of what these genocidal maniacs are doing inside their concentration camps in Israel with the Palestinians. They must be committing even greater atrocities than the ones we've already witnessed to let out this desperate cry before the Red Cross. So they know that they're doing wrong. They know that they are acting like the most evil force on the planet. And maybe they really are God's chosen people, but then we have to ask, which God? Is it Satan? Is it Lucifer? Because it sure as heck isn't the God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob. It's not the God that gave us 10 commandments, because if they were following the 10 commandments, we wouldn't be having this discussion now, would we? And I brought it up numerous times, the Israeli Mossad's motto, and I have to assume the IDF, the motto is, by means of deception, thou shalt make war. So, I mean, this is where we're coming from. And meanwhile, you got idiots out there like Mike Huckabee putting out one lie after another. He's getting ready. Here we're coming up on the 250th anniversary of the birth of our country, and he says this.
I celebrate the heritage that as an American I have, thanks to the Jewish foundation upon which the United States of America was born.
What? Stop right there. What? The Jewish foundation on which America was born? I don't remember seeing anything about Judaism in the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights. Let's see what else he had to offer.
And which it has thrived. And I tell you that if the United States ever forgets its heritage and forgets the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we will not be the great nation that we have become.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. It seems that you, dear sir, have forgotten the God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob, because everything that Israel is doing is contrary to the laws that were laid down by God Almighty. Let's hear something else.
And we will fall. And it's why that when I hear people say, is it possible that America and Israel will split apart and will no longer enjoy this extraordinary partnership? And I say, no. You got to understand. We're not that stupid. I hope we're never going to be that stupid. The truth is, it's like an incredible marriage between Israel and the United States. And when people ask, are we going to break up? I say, not a chance. Because neither country can afford the alimony if we ever broke up. And that's why we will be partners for as long as there is. Thank you. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the state of Israel. Thank you.
Wow. And the people are sucking this stuff up. I mean, don't they have any ability to think for themselves? Have they been swallowing propaganda and lies and deceit for so long that when the truth comes along, they reject it altogether? I would have to think so. Anyway, let's see. There's something else I wanted to get to here. One of the things I want to do, and maybe I'll do this tomorrow because I don't have the time to do it now, but I thought it would be a real novel idea, inasmuch that we're coming up on Independence Day. No, it's not just the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. And just the name of that holiday itself should suggest that maybe we ought to read the Declaration of Independence. So I think maybe I'll do that tomorrow or maybe on Friday. We'll see. But anyway, there was something else that I wanted to get to. This is a conversation. Let me see. Where is it? Okay, here it is. This is a very interesting take on where our society is going right now. So anyway, okay, I'm going to grab this phone call. Okay, let's see. Okay, welcome to the program, caller. Who are you and where are you calling from? Hello, caller. You're on the air. Listen to your phone, not the device you're listening to. Hello.
Ron from Minnesota.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Ron from Minnesota.
Okay, well, listen to your phone. Don't listen to the radio or your computer. Listen to the phone because there's a bit of a delay there. So what you got on your mind? Hello? Okay, one more time. Listen to your phone. Do not listen to your computer. There's like a 7 or 8, 10-second delay, and we can't have a conversation if I have to wait for you to respond. So for the last time, listen to your phone. What's up? What's on your mind? I guess that's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to disconnect from that. That's not the way it works. If you're going to call in, you have to listen to your phone. That's all there is to it. All right, I'm going to play this little piece of wisdom here, and let's see if we can't, cleave to these ideas. Listen up.
I'd first like to start by saying that every revolution succeeds when it successfully subtracts all historical memory from anything before itself. So I understand your profound sense of confusion and even despair at being born into this moment without any idea about what we've lost. When you subtract so much on a civilizational scale, it is a crime so vast it has no name.
Okay, I'm going to pause it, give you one more chance. Caller, are you listening to your phone this time? One more time. I guess not. Okay, sorry. All right. Let me get back to this. I'm going to start this little audio clip over because this is important. This is the direction that our society is taking and why our young people they feel a sense of despair and hopelessness. Anyway, let's listen to this.
I'd first like to start by saying that every revolution succeeds when it successfully subtracts all historical memory from anything before itself. So I understand your profound sense of confusion and even despair at being born into this moment without any idea about what we've lost. When you subtract so much on a civilizational scale, it is a crime so vast it has no name. And that's what we've suffered. And that's why so many of our younger generation feel utterly bewildered, placeless, and their lives are meaningless and frankly hopeless. Because if they think this is all there is, and that's what the system says, the liberal system says this is all there is, this is the verdict of history, this is utopia, the best of all possible worlds, then they basically give up on hope completely. And can you blame them if they fall into drugs and pornography and computer game addiction and antisocial and withdraw completely into some state of kind of desperate hikikomori withdrawal, a complete rejection? We're breaking the spirit of the younger generation, and that's meaningful. It's meaningful and it's immoral, and it basically violates. If you have any respect whatsoever for the essential dignity of human life, it's completely unacceptable. It's not even a political question. It's such an act of vandalism against the human spirit. And it's obvious. And if you just go and ask any young people and say, why don't you just go and ask them a simple question? When are you going to save up to buy a house? They just laugh at you. Of course they're not going to do that. There's no realistic hope of self-betterment. Or what's your vocation in life? We don't speak of vocations anymore. People just get by, usually on debt. So the meaning of your life has been degraded to a basic form of subsistence, where you just have to try and survive what's effectively a kind of war zone on the human spirit.
That's exactly right, and that's where we're at. And this is why the suicide rate among young adults has gone up to, it's nearly 20% now. I mean, this is insanity. And it's being done deliberately. They see what's going on. They see what's going on with the economy and with immigration. All right, we're going to try this one more time. All right, one more time, caller. Let's see if we can make this work. Are you there? Hello, caller. All right, I guess you're not going to talk. All right, so then goodbye. All right, enough of that. Again, if you're going to call in, you have to listen on your phone, guys. You know, it's you don't listen to your device or your radio. You have to talk on the phone. You're calling me on the phone, you got to talk on the phone. Anyway, let me see. I just got myself all disheveled here. Let me see. There was another thing I wanted to get to. Oh, yeah. As far as Tucker Carlson is concerned, he's been ruffling a lot of feathers. Oh, and there was something else I wanted to get to about Candace Owens. Do you know that they got a hit on Candace Owens? Yeah. TPUSA, I'll tell you, they're up to their eyeballs in it. And there's been a rumor going around that there's been a hit put on for Candace Owens. But I'll get to that a little bit later. Here's Tucker Carlson.
There were people deported from our country, not for criticizing America, but for criticizing Israel. What? It's illegal in many states, I think the majority now, to participate in BDS, a boycott of Israel. In Florida, it's illegal to criticize Israel. And they'll lie and say, no, yes, it is. It's a hate crime. If you compare the Israeli government to the Nazis, that's a hate crime. Well, by the way, I'm an American. I can say whatever I want about anything, I believe, first of all. Second, I can certainly criticize a foreign country in any way I choose. Nope, not in Florida. So, and other states. So that just Texas as well. So that it's like you don't even care about my country, or you care about it less than you care about a foreign country, in which case you're my enemy. Why would I support you? You're literally my enemy. Doesn't mean I'm going to hurt you or anything, but I'm certainly not going to send you money or carry your water or make excuses for your creepy adultery or whatever the price of admission is here. I'm not getting involved in that. Up yours, actually. You're the criminal. They try to make the person who points out their crimes feel like the criminal. And it's like, no. It's not a crime to criticize genocide in Gaza. It should be a crime to commit genocide in Gaza.
Exactly.
I'm not the murderer here. I'm not the person making excuses for blowing the limbs off kids. You are. So I just refuse, because I am 57, I've sort of aged out of this. I just refuse to be told that up is down and down is up. Black is white, white is black. I'm just not going to play along with that. No. Killing kids is worse than criticizing the killing of kids. True. And I'm never going to change my view, ever. I'm against any hatred of people on the basis of their blood. That's why I'm not Israeli. It's why I disagree with what's happening in Gaza. I don't think you should kill people just because they're Arab. Yes, I'm super mad about what's happening in Gaza. I think the Israeli government's disgusting. I don't hate Jews at all, but I hate our relationship with Israel. There are people,
and well, you should. And more Americans are feeling the same way. And reluctantly. I mean, it's really difficult to overcome an entire lifetime of brainwashing or conditioning or whatever word you want to say. We've been told over and over and over that Israel is our greatest ally and we have to stand by them. And 6 million and Holocaust and October 7th. And then you find out that you've been lied to. Yeah. Everything that they told you about it was a lie. And that's really hard to overcome because of ego and pride and because of you basing, your entire, the house of beliefs on a faulty foundation. That means you have to basically tear down the whole house and start all over again, including the foundation. And a lot of people just don't have the emotional or intellectual fortitude to do that. So this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to overcome those years of brainwashing. And that's where we're at. But more and more people are having to stop and say, wait a second, maybe I was wrong about this. And again, this is why I encourage folks to challenge yourself. It's okay to be wrong once in a while. I've been wrong too. I've had to completely make a turn, a 180 on a lot of things that I truly believed in. And it's not easy. I'm going all the way back as far as, the first time I remember that is, of course, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, with the peace and flower power and that whole thing. And I did not believe in any violence or guns at all. And when John Lennon was assassinated, there was a full-page ad in the New York Times of all these Hollywood, movie stars and TV stars and rock stars that were all saying, that's it. We've had it with guns. Gather them all up. Nobody should have guns. And I was right on board with that. And then I saw a bumper sticker. And the bumper sticker said, those who beat their guns into plows will plow for those who didn't. And that was Thomas Jefferson who said that. And so I did a little bit of history, and I got to meet, I can't remember his name. He was the president of the JPFO, the Jews for the Preservation of Firearm Ownership. And he basically, on his website, he listed all the genocides that had happened in history, and every single one of them was preceded by gathering up all the guns. They disarm the population, and then you can have your genocide. So, anyways, is that what's in store for us, for America? There's a lot of people out there that want to ban guns. There's another push now. They want to take away your AR-15s or whatever, your semi-automatics. They want to do that. And then you look at what's going on in Gaza and in the West Bank, and now Bibi is bombing not only Lebanon, but now he's bombing Syria, and he's threatening Egypt and Turkey. And people are saying, hey, watch what's going on in Gaza because it's coming to the United States if we don't stop this. And, the more I look at it, the more I think about it, the more I start to realize that maybe there's some truth in that. Anyway, there's another little clip here. This was posted by All for Freedom. And I don't know who this woman is, but she made some really good points, and I'm going to go ahead and play this. Here it is.
You have every right to know what your government is doing, and they have no right to know what you are doing. That's not a radical statement. That's the basic architecture of a free society. Public servants are called public servants because they serve the public, and service implies transparency, accountability, and the consent of the governed. Private citizens are called private citizens because our lives, our communications, our movements, our beliefs, and our associations are not state property. They belong to us. But somewhere along the way, that relationship got inverted. The state hides behind secrecy. Classified files, redacted documents, closed-door meetings, warrantless surveillance programs the intelligence agencies refuse to acknowledge even exist. They invoke national security as a blanket permission slip to operate beyond the reach of the law, beyond the scrutiny of Congress, beyond the knowledge of the people who are paying for it all with our taxes and our trust. And at the same time, the same state demands total, invasive visibility into your life. Your finances, your phone calls, your texts, your location data, your internet searches, your social media, your Face ID, your license plate every time you drive past a camera, your face every time you walk through an airport, a subway station, a shopping mall, a public square. Your purchases, your associations, your political beliefs, your private conversations, your medical records, even your genetic code. I have trouble finding words to describe how viscerally invasive this whole machine is. They want to know everything about you, and they want you to know nothing about them. That is not freedom, nor is it constitutional government. That is the very definition of tyranny. A society where the rulers live in total privacy, while the population lives under total surveillance, is not a democracy or even a constitutional republic. It is a surveillance state with an election cycle. And we need both real elections and serious public pressure to cure a broken relationship between the state and the citizen when the state has already decided that the citizen cannot be trusted with the truth. The Fourth Amendment was written precisely to prevent this travesty. It does not say that the government can search you whenever it feels vaguely concerned or creepily curious. It says that you have the right to be secure in your person, your house, your papers, and your effects against unreasonable searches and seizures, and that no warrant for search or seizure shall issue without 1. Probable cause, 2. Supported by oath or affirmation from a specific individual, named, and 3. Particularly and exactly describing the place to be searched and the things to be seized. That's not archaic language. That is a reasoned, structured, and extremely deliberate constraint on power that the founders and framers knew we needed to have for our own protection. But for decades now, we have allowed the government to eat away at that constraint, one exception at a time. The USA Patriot Act, the FISA Courts, Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the USA Freedom Act, quote-unquote, warrantless geofenced surveillance, bulk data collection, backdoor searches, and 1,000 other legal fictions designed to do what the Fourth Amendment explicitly forbids. They tell us it is only metadata. Only who you called, not what you said. Only where you went, not what you did. Only the patterns, not the content. When you have enough metadata, you don't need the content. If I know every person you've spoken to, every place you've been, every website you've visited, every purchase you've made, every moment you've been awake or asleep, I know you. And if I have derived that data through trackers you didn't know were there, cameras in public spaces you cannot avoid, and terms of service that are designed to ensure you never read them, then I have not met any constitutional standard to acquire that knowledge. We need to reverse the inversion.
Yes.
We need a government that operates in the light, whose surveillance powers are narrow, specific, warranted, and subject to adversarial review. We need a government that does not get to hide its mistakes behind classification stamps, while demanding that citizens expose every corner of our lives to algorithmic suspicion. We need a government that remembers who works for whom. Because here's the truth that no intelligence agency wants to admit. You are not safer because they read your texts. You are not safer because they track your car. You are not safer because they vacuum up every communication on the planet and store it in a data center in Utah, and increasingly everywhere. You are just more convenient to investigate and more vulnerable to blackmail and coercion. And in a system that prioritizes convenience, absolute arbitrary compliance, and coerced consent over constitutional constraint, everyone becomes a suspect eventually. A constitutional government does not rule in secrecy. A free society does not require stripping away everyone's privacy to function. And the relationship between the state and the citizen is not supposed to be adversarial, but when the state refuses to be transparent, it chooses to make itself the adversary of a free people. My name is Melissa Chowdhury. I'm a pro se federal litigator who's fought the weaponized U.S. government across 4 different jurisdictions and won. That victory ensured an honorable, decorated, disabled American military veteran was freed from illegal ICE detention after the powerful had decided due process did not apply to him. I know what happens when the state operates in the dark.
Yes, and I think we all do too. Anyway, yeah, her name is Melissa Chowdhury, and I'll get you some more information about that and have that posted. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's Wednesday edition of the WTF Reports. If you're listening on BitChute or Rumble or Facebook or YouTube or any of the above, don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, share the word. Spread the word by word of mouth. That's the best advertising. And by the way, yeah, you might want to help us out, support the broadcast by doing business with our sponsors, Get More Tank, the Wave Watch. You might want to pick up some merch, get a baseball cap or a T-shirt or whatever. Anyway, okay, that's going to wrap it up. So until tomorrow, folks, God bless you all. Stay safe. Stay free. And above all else, I don't know. What's the other one? Whatever. All right. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing. You take care.